before the flood of breakthrough is released, God often takes His chosen through the wilderness. Not as punishment, not as delay, but as preparation for the weight of glory ahead. Many ask God for a breakthrough without realizing that before He gives the great, He must first shape the vessel to carry it. God does not pour living water into a vessel that is cracked. He mends, He purifies, He restores, and only then does He release. If it feels like you are waiting endlessly, if it feels like life has pulled you back while others surge forward, know this: you are not overlooked. You are being shaped by the hands of the Almighty for something greater than your imagination. And that shaping often feels like solitude. When God intends to raise you higher, He begins by setting you apart. He removes the props you once leaned on, the people you once trusted, the patterns that once defined you. Because where God is taking you, old crutches will not carry you. Old mindsets will not sustain you. Old surroundings will not support you. So He removes, He prunes, He cuts back. And in those moments you may cry. You may ask God, why am I alone? Why does it feel like no one understands me? But that's the holy preparation. That is God crafting a stronger, bolder, wiser version of you in the hidden places, far from the applause of the crowd. The womb of preparation is dark, but it is sacred. When God is preparing you for a breakthrough, He teaches you to walk by faith, not by sight. You won't always see evidence of progress. You won't always feel growth. But God is not building you on emotion. He is building you on endurance. Because breakthroughs don't just demand excitement, they demand strength. Strength of character, strength of conviction, strength of obedience. And God builds that strength in the silent. When the phone doesn't ring, when the doors stay shut, when the answers don't come, that's when God is building something deeper inside you. Trust becomes more than a word. It becomes your daily bread. God will often allow resistance to build your resilience. Don't despise the opposition. Don't curse the storm. Don't run from the fire, because it's in the furnace of affliction that God forges champions. Look at the patterns of divine preparation throughout time. Every chosen one before the blessing went through the breaking. That breaking is not a sign of failure. It is the fingerprint of God molding you into someone who can carry the breakthrough. God does not give precious things to those who are untested. He proves, He stretches, He disciplines. Because the destiny He has for you requires a new dimension of strength that comfort will never provide. In the stillness, God teaches you to hear His voice. He removes distractions. He silences the noise so that when He speaks, you will not confuse His voice with your fears, your flesh, or the world. That clarity is critical, because when the breakthrough comes, when the opportunity opens, you must know what direction to go. You must know what voice to follow. And if you haven't learned to hear Him in the quiet, you won't recognize Him in the chaos. God trains your ears before He trains your feet. He speaks in whispers before He moves in wonders. And those who listen in the silence will lead in the storm. There are seasons where God will allow delay to develop your discipline. You ask, why hasn't it happened yet? Why hasn't the door opened? Why haven't I received what I prayed for? And God answers not with noise, but with time. Because in that delay, He is teaching you the value of patience. He is weaning you off of entitlement. He is showing you that you are not in control. And that is a holy lesson. God delays not to discourage, but to deepen. He lets you sit in the space between promise and fulfillment to test your endurance, your gratitude, and your worship. Will you praise God before the breakthrough? Will you trust Him when there is no sign of movement? Because if you can worship Him in the waiting, you are ready for the blessing. God often hides you before He reveals you. He conceals your gifts, your calling, your potential, not because He doesn't want the world to see it, but because the foundation must be set in secret. If the world sees you before God has strengthened you, it can crush you. But if God sees you before the world does, you will rise unshakable. God hides His best work. He molds the diamond in the dirt. He builds the warrior in the wilderness. You may feel unseen, but you are not forgotten. You are in the hands of the master builder, and when He is finished, the world will see what He has known all along, that you were destined for the breakthrough. During this preparation, God will remove things you thought you needed. He will strip away relationships, opportunities, and even identities you held on to. And in the moment, it may feel like loss, but it's not destruction, it's construction. God cannot build a new life on old foundations. So He clears the ground. He removes the faulty bricks. He exposes the cracks in your character, the pride in your heart, the fears you've masked with performance. He takes it all not to shame you, but to shape you, because the next season requires a stronger structure. And when He builds to last, but will stretch your faith. He will ask you to walk on waters you've never stepped on. He will ask you to trust Him with outcomes you cannot predict. And this is where many give up. But if you hold on, if you trust that God is not a liar, that His plan is not faulty, that His timing is not late, you will see the reward. The pressure you feel now is not punishment, it is preparation. Just as a seed breaks before it grows, just as muscles tear before they strengthen, so must your spirit be stretched before it soars. God is not trying to break you, He is trying to birth something through you. There are times when God will allow you to face closed doors, doors you prayed for, doors you fought for, just to teach you that not every door is divine. He wants you to stop chasing what you think is best and start trusting that He knows what is best. Closed doors are not rejection, they are redirection. They're a signal from heaven that God is guarding your destiny. Sometimes what you think is a blessing is actually a burden in disguise. And so God steps in. He intervenes. He says no, not to withhold, but to protect. And if you trust Him in the no, you'll be ready for the yes. God's preparation also includes exposure not of others, but of yourself. He shows you who you really are, not who you pretend to be. Not who others think you are, but the raw version of your heart, the motives, the pride, the hidden wounds. And in that exposure, you are called to change, to repent, to grow. Because God cannot elevate a heart that is still clinging to self. He will bless the humble. He will raise the yielded. But the proud He resists. So He prepares you by refining you. He teaches you to surrender not just your dreams, but your ego. Because the blessing ahead is too big for a self-centered soul. And in your preparation season, God will test your obedience. He will ask you to do things that make no sense, to forgive someone who hurt you, to give when you are lacking, to speak when you want to stay silent, to stay when you want to run. These tests are not random. They are divinely designed because obedience is the currency of breakthrough. God does not bless rebellion. He blesses obedience. And those who obey in the small things will be trusted with the great things. So don't ignore the nudge. Don't dismiss the instruction. Every act of obedience is a step closer to your breakthrough. Sometimes God prepares you by allowing you to be misunderstood. People will question your motives. They will mock your decisions. They will label you based on their limited perception. But God allows it not to humiliate you, but to humble you, to teach you that your approval does not come from man, it comes from Him alone. He allows the false accusations, the gossip, the rejection, not to destroy you, but to detach you from the need for validation. Okay? That you, when you no longer need the crowd's applause, you are ready to walk in the fullness of God's plan. Because breakthrough demands focus, and focus is forged in the fire of isolation. God prepares you by healing you. He digs up old wounds. He brings hidden pain to the surface. He confronts the bitterness you buried, because you cannot walk into a new season carrying old poison. You cannot rise while weighed down by what broke you in the past. So God heals not with speed, but with precision. He breaks open the scarred places so that true restoration can happen. And when the healing is complete, you will look back and realize that what once hurt you, God used to help you. What once made you weep, God used to make you wise. In this sacred preparation, God is not just building a future for you, He is building you for the future. He is creating a vessel that can handle the blessing without being destroyed by it. He is forging character that won't crumble under pressure. He is establishing a foundation that won't shake when the winds come. Because the breakthrough that is coming is not small. It is not light. It is not ordinary. It is a divine shift, a supernatural turning point, a life-altering release. And only those who have been prepared can carry it without being crushed by the weight of glory. When God prepares you for a major breakthrough, He doesn't just shift your circumstances, He ships you. He changes how you think, how you speak, how you respond, how you carry yourself. Because if your mindset is still rooted in fear and scarcity and self-doubt, then the breakthrough will only overwhelm you. So God begins by reshaping your thoughts. He teaches you to think with clarity, to see through faith, to speak with wisdom. He teaches you to speak life over death, purpose over pain, and victory over defeat, even when your surroundings are shouting otherwise. Because those who are prepared by God learn to align their words with His will, not with their worries. God trains your spirit to discern the hidden battles. In the preparation, He sharpens your spiritual senses. You start to recognize deception where you once saw charm. You start to sense danger where others see opportunity. God opens your inner eyes so that you no longer walk blindly through life, because the next level requires vision. And those who are truly prepared are not moved by what they see in the natural. They are led by what they discern in the unseen. God teaches you to trust His promptings over the pressure of the crowd. He trains you to move when He says move, to wait when He says wait, and to let go when He says let go, even if you don't understand it in the moment. And this divine training is often uncomfortable. When God prepares you for breakthrough, He exposes your dependence, not to shame you, but to set you free from it. You realize you are leaning on your job for identity, on people for value, on routines for safety. And God in His mercy removes every false foundation, because He knows that only those who stand on Him alone will stand through the shaking that follows a breakthrough. He wants to be your source, not your supplement. So He gently but firmly prids your fingers off of what you thought you needed and invites you to anchor your life in His strength, His wisdom, His plan. God's preparation includes the battlefield of the mind. Doubts will come like floods. Fear will whisper lies in the quiet. And the enemy will try to convince you that you're not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough. But God allows this battlefield to rise, not to destroy you, but to teach you warfare. He teaches your hands to fight and your heart to endure. He doesn't remove every storm, He equips you to stand through it. Because when the breakthrough arrives, the attacks won't stop, they will increase. So God trains you now in the hidden battles so that you are not blindsided later. He makes you battle-tested, not battle-wounded. In this sacred season of preparation, God begins to align your relationships. He brings the right people into your life. Not those who flatter your flesh, but those who sharpen your spirit. He disconnects you from those who drain your energy, who feed your weakness, who speak doubt into your calling. And though it may feel like betrayal, it is divine mercy, because your breakthrough cannot be contaminated by disloyalty, jealousy, or spiritual laziness. So God surrounds you with those who speak truth, who call you higher, who pray when others talk, who correct you when you stray. This is not coincidence. It is divine orchestration, because who walks with you in the next season will influence what you carry. And God does not just prepare you emotionally or mentally, He prepares you spiritually. He deepens your prayer life. He makes you hunger for communion with Him. You begin to crave time in His presence more than any other pursuit, because intimacy with God is the foundation of true strength. And in that sacred space of stillness, God downloads strategy, peace, insight, and courage. You stop praying surface prayers and you start crying out from the depths. You stop asking for things and start asking for His will. You stop rushing and you start listening. This shift is what separates those who wander from those who walk with purpose. God births purpose in prayer, and those who are prepared know that breakthrough starts on their knees. God also prepares you through tests of integrity. He gives you moments when no one is watching and asks, "Don't you still choose what's right?" He allows opportunities where you could take shortcuts, manipulate outcomes, or lie to advance. But those moments are not accidents. They are exams, because what you do in secret will echo in the next season. If you pass the test of integrity in the dark, God will trust you with influence in the light. You don't become trustworthy by accident. You become trustworthy by choosing truth over convenience. And God will not release a major breakthrough into the hands of someone who cannot be trusted with righteousness. Sometimes the preparation looks like a loss, but in reality, it's a launch. You may lose income, lose friends, lose stability, but pay attention. God is not subtracting, He is positioning. He is moving pieces, shifting the train, clearing the pathway for what He is about to release. And if you focus only on what's being removed, you'll miss what's being revealed. So lift your eyes above the storm. Look past the disappointment, because the very thing that felt like a setback is actually the runway for a divine takeoff. God never takes without giving better. He never removes without replacing with something more aligned, more powerful, more holy. In this divine refinement, you will begin to hear the voice of God with new clarity. You will wake up with divine ideas. You will dream dreams that carry messages. You will walk into rooms and feel spiritual shifts. And this sensitivity is not given lightly. It is given through surrender. When God sees that you value His voice above all, He will speak to you in ways that guide your every step. This is how the prepared live, not by sight, not by opinion, but by the whisper of God in their soul. And when that whisper comes, they move without hesitation. Because the breakthrough is not just for them, it is through them. And the beauty of God's preparation is that it's never wasted. Every tear you cried, He collected. Every night you felt forgotten, He recorded. Every moment you chose faith over fear, He honored. God wastes nothing, He uses everything. The pain, the loss, the confusion, it all becomes part of the foundation. And when a breakthrough arrives, it will not just be about the blessing, it will be about the journey. You will look back and realize that the preparation was the promotion, that the waiting was the molding, that the valley was the training ground for the mountaintop. This is not the time to retreat. This is not the season to complain. This is the moment to press in deeper, to pray harder, to walk stronger, because God is not through with you. He is just getting started. The greater the preparation, the greater the purpose. And if the fire feels hot, it means the gold within you is about to shine. The breakthrough will come suddenly, but it will only come to those who have been forged patiently. When God prepares you for a major breakthrough, He is not merely arranging circumstances. He is orchestrating transformation. He is not simply adjusting your surroundings, He is adjusting you. He's not sending the breakthrough to make your life easier. He's sending it to elevate your purpose, to assign you to something weightier, something more divine. But first, He must ensure that your character can carry what your mouth has prayed for. The blessing must not outpace your spiritual maturity. So God slows things down, not because He is late, but because He is precise. Every delay is an act of divine mercy. Every pause is preparation disguised as stillness. You see, God doesn't just want to answer your prayer, He wants to align your soul with the purpose of the answer. Many cry out for breakthrough, but few are willing to become the kind of person that breakthrough requires. So God begins the sacred work of undoing who you used to be. He breaks the patterns that once ruled your thoughts. He confronts the habits that once ruled your actions. He challenges the beliefs that once ruled your identity, because your old nature cannot carry this new calling. You are not being punished, you are being purified. You are being reshaped into a vessel of clarity, focus, and fire. And it is during this process that you will feel the weight of surrender pressing down on you. God will ask you to release things you thought you couldn't live without. He will ask you to lay down dreams that were born from ego and not from purpose. He will call you to abandon shortcuts and temptations that look right in the moment but lead to destruction. And if your heart is truly set on receiving what only God can give, you must pass through this holy fire of surrender. Because God cannot bless what is half committed. He cannot elevate what still clings to compromise. He calls for full submission, not partial cooperation. There will be moments when God's preparation feels like contradiction. You'll sense something great is coming, but everything around you will feel like it's falling apart. You'll feel pregnant with vision, yet surrounded by opposition. That tension is holy. That contradiction is divine, because God allows pressure before promotion. He allows you to be placed under pressure, not to crush you, but to draw out the oil within. Just as the olive must be broken to release its richest flow, your life too must be pressed to reveal what is most sacred inside. The anointing that shatters yokes does not come from human applause but through trials, and those who endure the process carry an authority that cannot be imitated. God's shaping also sharpens your discernment. Not every open door is one God has ordained. Without preparation, you risk mistaking distractions for blessings. But when the Spirit trains your heart, you begin to see with clarity. You look past the surface. You start asking, does this draw me nearer to God or lead me astray? Does this serve my calling or just inflate my pride? Discernment becomes a shield, guarding your breakthrough from corruption. It anchors your heart when the spotlight shines on you. It quiets the noise so you can still hear God's whisper in the crowd. And as He prepares you, He enlarges your capacity. He stretches your endurance. He deepens your patience. He fortifies your determination. Why? Because the weight of the breakthrough is not light. Blessings carry responsibility. Open doors come with new devils. Elevation invites greater spiritual warfare. And if you are not equipped, you will collapse under the very thing you once begged for. So God tests your limits, not to break you, but to build you. He expands your heart to love deeper. He broadens your mind to think higher. He increases your faith to believe bigger. He enlarges your spirit so that when the breakthrough comes, you are not intimidated by its magnitude. There are days when God prepares you in solitude. In those quiet seasons, you'll feel invisible to the world, but seen completely by Him. You'll look around and wonder why others are advancing while you remain still. But understand this: the deeper the foundation, the taller the building. God is not keeping you hidden to punish you. He is fortifying your roots because the storm will always reveal what was built on sand and what was built on rock. The breakthrough is not just about what you gain, it's about what you can withstand. And those who have been hidden in God will not be shaken when the winds rise. In preparation, God may ask you to walk away from familiar places. Environments that once felt comfortable may begin to feel constricting. Conversations that once excited you may now exhaust you. Habits that once entertained you will now convict you. That is not you becoming cold, it is you becoming cold. God is elevating your sensitivity to the sacred. He is drawing you away from noise so that He can deposit revelation. He is disrupting your rhythm so that He can realign your steps. Because the higher the calling, the narrower the road. And those who are called must learn to walk alone before they can lead many. God's preparation also includes excellence in the small. If you are not faithful with little, you will not be trusted with much. And so He will test you in your daily assignments. Will you show up with diligence when no one is watching? Will you complete your task with excellence even when it feels insignificant? Because those who cannot be trusted in the shadows will never be elevated to the light. Your breakthrough is not earned by size, it is honored by stewardship. Show God that you can honor the quiet season, and He will honor you in the public one. The spotlight doesn't reveal your potential, it exposes your preparation. You may be tempted to rush the process. You may want to skip the pruning, skip the silence, skip the storms. But if you short-circuit what God is doing in your preparation, you will step into a breakthrough you are not ready to sustain. And what begins as a blessing can quickly become a burden. God loves you too much to release it prematurely. He is not slow, He is wise. He doesn't follow your timeline, He follows His divine blueprint. So trust the slowness, trust the stillness, trust the unseen hand that is crafting a future far more stable than anything you could build on your own. Let your heart absorb this truth. God is never idle. Even when nothing around you seems to move, heaven is working. Your prayers are not in vain. Your discipline is not wasted. Your waiting is not meaningless. Every act of faith, every choice to obey, every time you choose character over convenience, it all matters. It is all counted. And when the breakthrough finally arrives, you will step into it not with surprise, but with strength. Not with confusion, but with clarity. Not with panic, but with power. Because you will know that the preparations shaped you into a vessel worthy of the miracle. When God prepares a soul for a breakthrough, He doesn't simply look at your desire, He measures your endurance. Because what is coming isn't just an answer to prayer, it's a shift in destiny. And destiny does not rest on feelings, destiny rests on faith. There are moments in preparation where everything will appear still, even stagnant. But don't let silence make you doubt the sacred. God often does His greatest work in the deepest silence. The seed makes no sound as it breaks open underground. The roots make no noise as they stretch deep into the earth. But they are growing, they are stabilizing, and soon that unseen work will push into the light. So it is with your preparation. When you don't see progress, God is still producing you. You must understand this. When God is preparing you, He is not simply answering what you want. He is developing who you must become. Breakthroughs are not handed to those who merely wish for them, but to those who are ready to carry them. And readiness is not comfort, it is consecration. God is cleansing your motives, refining your focus, deepening your wisdom, your true work. He is teaching you that power without purpose is dangerous, that blessing without maturity is destructive, and that elevation without humility is deadly. So God in His mercy delays what your pride might demand until your heart becomes a vessel He can fully trust. There will be days when the weight of waiting will feel heavier than the battle itself. You will be tempted to compare your process to others. You'll see others celebrate it while you remain concealed. But remember, what is rushed is rarely rooted. God is not raising you up to be popular. He is raising you up to be planted. And planted things grow in silence, not spotlight. The deeper your roots, the stronger your rise. And God knows how high your breakthrough will elevate you. So He must make sure you are anchored in Him alone. That means removing idols you didn't even know existed. Your need for recognition, your addiction to validation, your dependence on outcomes. God clears the soil of your soul before He waters the seed of destiny. Preparation also comes with exposure, not of others, but of yourself. God will allow moments where your weaknesses surface not to shame you, but to strengthen you. He reveals the cracks before the structure is built. He points to the wounds that still bleed under pressure. He shows you the fear that still lurks in the shadows of your decisions. And it is in this holy revealing that God begins His healing. The path to breakthrough isn't through pretending you're perfect, it's through surrendering what's broken. God will not bless what you hide, He blesses what you hand over. So let the refining fire do its work, because when you are made whole in the hidden place, no battle in the open can shake you. God will also test your loyalty in the waiting. He will ask, will you remain faithful even when there is no visible reward? Because true faithfulness isn't proven by applause, it's proven by consistency. Do you still pray when there's no breakthrough? Do you still serve when there's no recognition? Do you still obey when the outcome is uncertain? God is not watching how loud you shout in the moment of hope. He is watching how quietly you walk in the discipline of hope. Because faith that lasts isn't emotional, It's intentional. God prepares those who can be trusted in every season, not just the ones that feel easy. And then there is the stripping. Yes, God strips. He removes what no longer serves your purpose. He peels away layers of pride, fear, comfort, and compromise. Not to leave you bare, but to clothe you in spiritual authority. He removes the identity shaped by the world so He can reveal the identity shaped by His wisdom. That's why people may not recognize you anymore. That's why old conversations feel foreign. That's why what used to excite you now feels empty. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. The discomfort is not destruction. It is divine transformation. And once God finishes, you will no longer walk as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. In this season, God will begin to increase your discernment, not just toward others, but toward yourself. You'll start to see your tendencies, your patterns, your defaults under pressure. He will show you where you self-sabotage, where you delay your own growth, where you make excuses instead of progress. And that kind of truth isn't always easy to face, but it's necessary. Because your breakthrough isn't just about what's coming, it's about what needs to go. And God in His love will confront you before He promotes you. He will call you to accountability before He calls you to influence. Because to carry what He's about to place in your hands, you must walk with clarity and conviction. And perhaps the most sacred part of God's preparation is this: He teaches you to love the process more than the promise. You stop chasing breakthrough just for the reward. You begin to embrace it for the refinement. Because the longer you walk with God, the more you understand that the true blessing is not just in the arrival, it's in the alignment. It's not just what He gives you, it's who you become through the fire, through the silence, through the waiting. And in that realization you find peace, because even if the breakthrough delays, you are already being transformed, and that transformation is eternal. God's preparation is a holy orchestration of unseen victories. Every time you resist temptation, you are being prepared. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are being prepared. Every time you say no to distraction, yes to purpose, yes to obedience, you are being refined into a vessel of power, of endurance, of divine authority. The breakthrough is not just something you receive, it is something you are being built into. And when God says now, it won't just be a moment. It will be a manifestation of everything He's been doing in secret. There comes a time in every soul's journey where the silence of God becomes louder than the noise of the world. That's not abandonment, it's divine attention. It's in those moments when the heavens feel quiet that God is actually working the hardest. He is not absent. He is deeply, intricately present, crafting, refining, and stretching your spirit to handle what eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. He is shaping you to walk into a future that your present cannot comprehend. This is why you must learn to walk by trust, not by evidence, because the absence of visible movement is not the absence of God's presence. It is the space where He builds your inner fire. God does not train you for ordinary living. He trains you for spiritual dominion. He doesn't just want you to pass through seasons. He wants you to reign over them. And reigning doesn't begin with power. It begins with process. God prepares rulers in the shadows. He builds spiritual authority in the wilderness. He molds the voice that will shift atmospheres in the backside of obscurity. Because if your spirit is not anchored in Him, success will shake you, attention will ruin you, and influence will corrupt you. So He buries you in prayer. He buries you in humility. He buries you in discipline until your soul learns that invisibility with God is better than visibility without Him. You may find yourself wrestling in this season, wrestling with doubt, with timing, with fatigue. But understand this, God allows the wrestle not to break your faith, but to make it immovable. He stretches your spiritual muscles through struggle. He reveals your true hunger in the drought. He awakens your fire in the pressure. Because breakthrough is not light, it is heavy. It carries weight, responsibility, and influence. And God does not give weighty things to weak foundations. That's why He doesn't just build blessings, He builds backbone. He doesn't just teach you how to dream, He teaches you how to endure. Your faith must be prepared to hold the very thing you prayed for. Because what good is a gift if it breaks you when you receive it? That's why God spends more time working on you than working on the thing itself. He sharpens your mind. He cleanses your heart. He restores your focus. He removes the residue of past pain so you don't drag old wounds into a new season. He breaks cycles that you didn't even know were holding you hostage. Because when the door opens, when the calling activates, when the assignment becomes public, you must be ready not just to receive, but to sustain. There's a divine reason God often takes the long route. It's not because He forgot the shortcut. It's because He knows that shortcuts produce shallow roots, and shallow roots can't survive storms. So while others sprint ahead with speed, God walks you with depth. He buries truth so deep in your spirit that when the winds come, and they will come, you will not sway. You will not bow. You will not fold. Because God did not raise you to be popular. He raised you to be planted. Planted in faith, planted in purpose, planted in truth. And here's what you must realize. Preparation is not punishment. It is protection. God is shielding you from premature exposure. He is guarding your destiny from contamination. He knows the traps ahead that you cannot yet see. So, He holds you back until the ground has been cleared. He removes people who would have derailed your future. He closes doors that would have robbed your peace. And in your disappointment, you may cry out, "Why, God?" But when you're standing in the middle of your breakthrough with no bitterness, no baggage, and no burdens, then you will know why God's no was not a denial, it was a defense. In His preparation, God awakens a holy sensitivity. He trains your ears to hear what others miss. He sharpens your spirit to detect danger in disguise. He heightens your awareness of divine timing. Because when your moment comes, it will not come with fanfare. It will come in a whisper. And if you have not learned to listen, you will miss it. Those who are truly prepared by God become masters of the invisible battle. They know how to fight without noise. They know how to move without announcing. They know how to pray when others panic. And that is the power of God's preparation. It births quiet warriors who shake the very gates of opposition with their stillness. You may think your current position disqualifies you, but what disqualifies you in the eyes of men often qualifies you in the plan of God. He doesn't look at your resume, He looks at your resilience. He doesn't measure your resources, He measures your readiness. And readiness is not about having it all together. It's about trusting God even when everything feels like it's falling apart. because trust is the foundation of every breakthrough. Not strategy, not talent, not popularity. Trust. Deep, raw, unshakable trust in the one who holds your outcome. Hear me. Your future salvation is not in God. God also uses pain as a preparation tool, not because He enjoys your suffering, but because He understands what pain produces. Pain purifies, pain sharpens, pain ignites. Pain pushes you closer to your core, where all the pretending fades and only truth remains. God uses your tears to water the soil of your next season. He uses your loss to teach you detachment. He uses your failure to destroy your pride. He allows heartbreak to strip you of false expectations. And when all that is left is a soul leaning on God alone, that's when the breakthrough is nearest. That's when the light begins to crack through the darkness. God prepares you to walk in peace before you walk in power. Because what good is influence if it costs you your inner calm? What good is a platform if you carry anxiety to every stage? So He teaches you peace in the waiting. He teaches you peace in the pressure. He teaches you to sleep when the storm rages and to smile when the crowd leaves. That kind of peace is not learned through books. It is birthed through brokenness. And once you possess it, nothing can steal it. Because peace rooted in God is unshakable, and only those who are prepared will know what it means to walk through fire without burning, through waters without drowning. There is a hidden richness in the preparation of God that many overlook. Because we are so focused on arrival, we forget that the journey is sacred. Every step, every pause, every wrestle, every prayer, it's holy ground. God walks with you, not just to lead you to the promise, but to reveal who He is along the way. And those who truly embrace the preparation come out not just with a blessing, but with a revelation, a deeper awareness of God's presence, a clearer vision of His power, a stronger bond with His guidance. And that is worth more than anything breakthrough could bring. In this divine preparation, God teaches you to guard your gate. Not everything deserves access to your spirit. Not every voice should be allowed to speak into your future. Not every emotion should have a seat in your decisions. God shows you the power of boundaries. He trains you to discern the difference between what is good and what is God-ordained. Many fall not because they were uncalled, but because they were unfiltered. They allowed too many opinions, too much noise, too many distractions to enter the sacred chamber of their calling. But those who are truly prepared by God become gatekeepers of their peace, of their energy, of their time, because they know that breakthrough requires not just strength, but focus. God prepares your spirit to handle delay without discouragement. That's one of the highest tests of faith, to still believe when the wait is long, to still hope when the evidence says otherwise, to still build when the blueprint looks invisible. But it is in that tension that your trust is tested. Those who have been shaped in the waiting rise with a faith untouched by circumstance. It is steady. They don't need signs in the sky. They know change is already on the way. They don't need the crowd to agree. They can stand alone with certainty because God has spoken, and that alone sustains them. So keep moving, keep planting, keep believing, keep yielding. God is not only opening a way, He is shaping you to step through it with fire in your spirit, with wisdom on your lips, with authority in your walk. You are being formed into one who cannot be shaken, who will not be turned aside, because when the breakthrough comes, it won't be about the gift alone. It will reveal who you have become in the waiting. A vessel of resilience, a pillar of faith, a living witness of what God can do with a surrendered heart. God has said, rest. Everything meant for you will arrive. This is not an invitation to laziness. It is not a license to sit idle. It is a sacred call to settle your heart, still your soul, and put unshakable trust in the one who never fails. When God speaks, storms bow. When He commands, creation obeys. So when God says relax, it is not optional. It is a holy guarantee that He is moving where you cannot see, setting in place what your eyes have yet to witness, and preparing blessings beyond your imagination. Then why do you worry, beloved? Why let your soul grow weary when God has already declared peace over you? Why pace in the midnight hours, tangled in anxious thoughts, when the King of all creation has sworn to sustain you, provide for you, and finish the work He began? The fight is not yours. The outcome does not depend on your stress, your hustle, or your overthinking. It depends on the God who holds time in His hands and calls every star by name. There is power in stillness. There is glory in surrender. There is victory in patience. But in this world, we've been taught to chase, to force, to strive, to panic, because we think everything depends on our next move. We treat God like a backup plan, a last resort after we've tried everything else. But hear this with all the fire of your faith. When God says relax, He's not saying give up. He's saying look up. Look up to the heavens where help comes from. Look up to the skies where your prayers have risen. Look up to the throne where your answers are already written. You cannot control what is beyond your reach. You cannot manipulate timing, people, or outcomes. But you can trust. You can believe. You can rest in the mighty arms of God, who has never failed a single soul that depended on Him. God said, relax. Not because there's nothing to do, but because He has already done what you could never do. He has opened doors no man can shut. He has softened hearts that were like stone. He has cleared paths where none existed. And He is not done yet. Faith is not just shouting hallelujah in church. Faith is the quiet confidence when the bills are due and the answers are few. Faith is when your eyes see nothing, but your heart says, God is working. Faith is when you stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios and start declaring divine outcomes. Faith is not a mood. It is a mindset. It is the refusal to be moved by what is seen and the unshakable trust in what is spoken by God. But God has told you to relax. Then there is nothing in the universe that can undo what He is bringing to pass. People may delay it, but they cannot destroy it. Circumstances may twist it, but they cannot take it. Your own fears may blur it, but they cannot block it. What God has written for you is sealed, and no amount of anxiety will speed it up. No amount of panic will make it happen faster. You must wait in peace, not in torment. You must wait with assurance, not with fear. Some of you are tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of believing. But let me tell you, your tiredness is not a sign to give up. It is a sign that something is close. You're not tired for nothing. You're tired because the breakthrough is near. The enemy fights hardest when heaven is about to deliver. But God says, relax, not collapse, not retreat, not fold, relax, breathe, trust. The pressure you feel is not the end. It is the birth of something new. Many of you have been running, striving, comparing your life to others. You've been watching others prosper and wondering when it will be your turn. But hear me, what God has for you is tailor-made. It cannot be rushed, it cannot be stolen. What others have is not your measurement. What they accomplish is not your timeline. God has His own schedule, His own design. And when He moves, it will happen so suddenly, you'll forget the years of waiting. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to manipulate outcomes. What you need is stillness, spiritual stillness that anchors your soul in the truth that God is faithful. Do you think the one who formed you in the womb would forget your needs? Do you think the one who sustains the sun and moon would overlook your prayers? God is not a man. He does not lie. He does not tease. He does not change His mind. If He said it, He will do it. Relaxing in God is not weakness. It is warfare. It is declaring to the forces of darkness that you will not be shaken. It is standing in the face of delay and saying, I know my God. It is looking at the chaos around you and choosing peace. That peace is a weapon. That stillness is a sword. Because the enemy thrives on your panic. He wants you to believe that time is running out, that God forgot, that you missed your chance. But the devil is a liar. Time belongs to God. Destiny belongs to God. And your moment has already been scheduled. Do not confuse movement with progress. Just because others are busy doesn't mean they are blessed. Just because you are still doesn't mean you are stuck. God grows things in silence. The seed does not shout while it breaks through the soil. The tree does not scream while it bears fruit. God is working silently, deeply beneath the surface. And when it's time, He will raise you up, not by your might, not by your efforts, but by His hand alone. You don't need to worry about who left you, who lied to you, who overlooked you. Let them go. Let Him walk, because what God brings to you will never leave. What He ordains for your life is sealed with power. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are hidden. Hidden in God's purpose. Hidden in God's protection. Hidden until the perfect time. That is why He tells you to relax, because your worry is doing nothing but stealing your joy. Your fear is doing nothing but wasting your strength. And God did not bring you this far to abandon you now. He did not part the Red Sea of your past just to let you drown in the river of your present. Trust Him. If He made a way before, He will answer again. The waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being made ready, not just to receive the blessing, but to carry it with wisdom. You are not just waiting for something to happen. God is making something happen in you. And when the blessing comes, it will match your maturity. It will match your strength. It will match the character God has been building in you. Through every trial, every delay, every sleepless night. So don't rush the process. Don't beg for shortcuts. Don't panic when the door seems closed. When God says relax, He's telling you the door is not locked. It's just not time. And when the time comes, you won't need to knock twice. You won't need to force anything. It will swing open because God is the one who opens and no man can shut. Let your heart be still. Let your mind be quiet. Let your soul return to its anchor. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have every answer. What you need is to return to the posture of trust. Trust like a child. Trust like a warrior. Trust like someone who has seen God move before and knows He will do it again. God sees the tears you cry in secret. He hears the prayers you whisper at night. He knows the silent battles you fight that no one else sees. And He is not distant. He is not deaf. He is not idle. He is present, active, and watching. And when the time is right, He will send help that overwhelms you with joy. He will send peace that makes no sense. He will open a floodgate of blessing that will silence every doubt. When God says relax, He is not giving you a temporary escape. He is inviting you into eternal alignment. He is calling you to a life where your soul no longer panics at every delay, where your spirit no longer trembles when things don't go your way. It is a shift, a transformation, a spiritual recalibration. Because when your heart finally lets go of the illusion of control, God takes over in ways you never imagined. God takes over in ways you never imagined. Your surrender becomes the soil where miracles grow. Your stillness becomes the stage where His power is displayed. There is a divine order in God's process. Nothing in your life is random. Not the silence, not the detour, not the people who left, not the door that didn't open. Even what you call failure, God calls preparation. Even the seasons that felt like a wilderness were part of God's holy design to teach you trust, to teach you dependence, to break you free from the chains of human understanding. Because when God is all you have, that's when you discover He is all you need. Some of you have been trying to force what God has already removed. You've been chasing what God has already closed off, and now your soul is tired. But God is saying to you today, stop chasing, stop striving, stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Relax, let it fall apart if it must, because God allows things to break. Only when He is about to rebuild you into something stronger. What you lost was not the end, was the beginning of something greater. God never lets go of His own. Even when you don't understand Him, even when His silence seems unbearable, even when His ways appear hidden behind layers of mystery, He is still with you. He is still guiding the currents of your life with precision and purpose. The delays are not denials. They are divine pauses meant to position you, to protect you, to prepare you. And sometimes the greatest test of faith is not inaction, but in inaction. Can you trust God enough to do nothing but believe? The enemy wants you restless. He wants you exhausted from worry. He wants your mind tormented by the unknown. But God wants you anchored. Anchored in His Word. Anchored in His timing. Anchored in the unshakable truth that what is meant for you will never pass you by. Not by mistake, not by delay, not by human interference. What God has for you is wrapped in divine security. You don't need to race after it. You only need to remain aligned with Him, and in His time, everything will fall into place. Relaxing in God is not letting life happen to you, it's letting God happen through you. It is not passivity, it is spiritual posture. It is the heart standing firm even when the winds howl. It is the mind refusing to bow to fear. It is the soul saying, "My God knows what He's doing." And that kind of peace, that kind of unwavering confidence only comes from knowing who God is. Not just in theory, but through every battle you faced, every valley you've walked through, and every tear you've cried. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not a mistake. God crafted your life with such care that not even a moment has been wasted. Every disappointment, every delay, every closed door, it has all been part of a divine masterpiece. And just because you don't see the whole painting yet doesn't mean it's not beautiful. Just because the story feels unfinished doesn't mean it's not powerful. God is still writing. God is still moving. And when He's ready, what He brings into your life will make sense of every sleepless night you've ever had. There is power in trusting when you don't see. There is strength in standing still when everything around you screams, "Run." Faith is not the absence of questions, it's the presence of obedience. And God honors the heart that waits with quiet expectation, not with fear, not with desperation, but with bold confidence that says, "I don't know how or when, but I know my God will do it." That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith unlocks heaven. When your plans fail, don't panic. God's plan never fails. When people leave, don't beg. God will replace what is lost with what is better. When nothing is working, don't collapse. Sometimes God brings everything to a halt so He can rebuild you with clarity. His ways are not your ways. His thoughts are higher. His timing is perfect. And when He finally releases what He has prepared for you, it will come with no sorrow, no confusion, and no struggle. Only peace, only purpose, only power. Many are asking, when will it happen? When would my life change? But God is asking you, can you relax even now? Can you trust even in the delay? Can you believe even in the silence? Because it's easy to trust when the door opens. It's easy to praise when the miracle comes. But the real test of faith is whether you can still worship in the waiting room, whether you can still walk upright when you don't know what's next, whether you can still bless God even when you're bleeding, and the reward for that kind of trust. It is unspeakable. It is the favor that finds you. It is the breakthrough that overtakes you. It is the provision that meets you where you are. You will not have to run to chase it. It will run to find you. That's what happens when you relax in God. You stop chasing what the world says you need, and you start receiving what God knows you need. The difference is everything. The world's pace is panic. God's pace is peace. God doesn't need your fear. He needs your faith. He doesn't need your stress. He needs your surrender. And when you give it to Him fully, freely, completely, He begins to shift the entire atmosphere around your life. People you never thought would help you will show up. Opportunities you never imagined will present themselves. Doors you didn't even knock on will open. And all because you trusted. All because you stopped forcing and started flowing with God's perfect will. Don't measure your life by what you can see now. What you see is only a shadow of what God is preparing. You may feel stuck, but God is not stuck. You may feel delayed, but God is never late. You may feel like nothing is changing, but God is changing everything quietly, deliberately, eternally. The moment you stop striving and start surrendering is the moment you align yourself with supernatural flow. Relax. Not because the journey is over, but because you finally realize you're not walking alone. God is with you in every step, every struggle, every silence. He is guiding even the details you overlook. He is protecting you from things you don't even know are threatening you. And He is working all things together for your good. Not some things, all things. Even your pain, even your waiting, even the parts that don't make sense. This is your time to rest. Not in defeat, but in faith. Not in frustration, but in hope. Because what is ahead of you is greater than what is behind you. God is not finished. He is not done writing your story. And the next chapter will make you weep, not with sorrow, but with joy so overwhelming you'll drop to your knees in awe. You will say, God, you did more than I asked, more than I imagined, more than I deserve. That's the kind of ending God writes for those who trust Him completely. And when God tells you to relax, He is not asking you to step away from purpose, but to step into trust. Trust is not passive. Trust is not weakness. Trust is fire-tested strength. Trust is the posture of a soul that refuses to be moved by what the world says because it has been rooted in what God has spoken. God is not looking for noise, for performance, for panic. God is looking for stillness, because stillness is the language of surrender. And when your soul is surrendered, heaven responds. Heaven does not respond to chaos. Heaven moves in response to faith. You must understand, God is not on your clock. He is not governed by your deadlines. He is not shaken by your emergencies. When God says relax, He is teaching you to release your grip on time. You may think you're late. You may feel like you're behind. But God sees you right on schedule. There is no pressure in heaven. There's no anxiety in the throne room. The God who controls the flow of time is never rushing. The God who sees the end from the beginning knows exactly when and how your breakthrough will come. Stop measuring your worth by what hasn't happened yet. Stop defining your future by the delay you see now. Delay is not denial. Delay is often divine protection. Delay is where God prepares what is beyond your imagination. You prayed for something great, but do you really believe that greatness can be rushed? When God makes diamonds, He applies pressure. When God molds vessels, He uses fire. And when God prepares a soul for destiny, He often tells that soul to be still, to wait, to trust. Why? Because you must be ready to carry the weight of what is coming. God is not building for now, He is building for always. You are not being prepared for temporary applause. You are being fashioned for eternal impact. And what you carry must be rooted in obedience, not pride. So God strips away your dependence on results. He tears down your addiction to recognition. He removes your idols, success, relationships, speed. And then in the quietness of surrender, He speaks. He whispers, "Relax, I've got this." And those words spoken by God are more powerful than 10,000 battles. There are things you're praying for right now that seem far away. But God is not delaying to punish you. He's delaying to align you. Because if you received it too early, it would crush you. If you walked through that door without strength, the weight would destroy your peace. So God builds your endurance in silence. He strengthens your character in the shadows. He sharpens your discernment in the waiting. And when the moment is right, when your spirit is ready, when your enemies are silenced, when the time is perfect, God will move. And it will be sudden. It will be complete. It will be undeniable. Relaxing in God means living in a different rhythm. The world screams, "Do more, move faster, chase harder." But God says, "Be still and know." Know what? Know that I am the one who parts seas. Know that I am the one who makes streams in the desert. Know that I am the one who calls things that are not as though they were. You don't have to exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth. God already declared it. You don't have to beg for what is yours. God already assigned it. You don't have to fight to be seen. God already chose you. And those who are chosen by God don't chase, they attract. They don't panic, they prepare. They don't force, they flow. When God is your source, you stop leaning on people. You stop relying on circumstances. You stop looking to the left or right, and you fix your gaze on the Almighty. And in that gaze, in that holy focus, you find strength that makes no sense. You find peace that surpasses understanding. You find joy that endures beyond pain. You find purpose that no man can cancel. So lift your head, shake off the dust, let go of the fear that's been choking your vision. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. God has not left you. He has hidden you. He has protected you, and He is speaking to your soul right now. Relax. It's coming. What I promised is still on the way. Not one dream placed in your heart will die if it was born of God. Not one dream placed in your heart will die if it was born of God. And it's not God. Not one tear you've shed in faith will go uncollected. God sees the sacrifice. He sees the pain you didn't speak. He knows the burdens you carried without complaining. And He is faithful. He is just. He is mighty. He is able. God will reward you, not in men's time, but in perfect time. And when that time comes, the same people who overlooked you will be in awe. The same places where you were rejected will open their doors. The same areas where you failed will become testimonies of God's power. But to get there, you must stop fighting battles that God already won. You must stop arguing with people God already removed. You must stop rehearsing wounds that God already healed. Relax. Don't just hear the word, live it. Let your actions speak trust. Let your silence declare faith. Let your patience become worship, because worship is not just a sound, it is a lifestyle. And when your lifestyle says, God, I trust you, heaven takes notice. The idea that you don't have to do everything is a sound in your life. You pray others than you got to worship. Heaven takes notice. Some of you have been on the edge of giving up. You've said, I can't do this anymore. I've waited too long. But let me tell you, right before harvest comes weariness. Right before breakthrough comes pressure. Right before the release comes silence. That's where you are. You're not at the end. You're at the edge. And if you can just hold on, if you can just remain in peace, if you can just refuse to panic, God will show up in such power that your enemies won't be able to deny it. You don't need to fear missing your moment. When your life is in God's hands, nothing meant for you can pass you by. Not the job, not the opportunity, not the blessing. What God said will find you. It will pursue you. It will overtake you. And it will establish you in ways that your efforts never could. That's why He says, relax. Because if you keep trying to hold everything together in your own strength, you'll miss the supernatural. God doesn't need your anxiety, He needs your attention. He doesn't need your hustle, He needs your humility. He doesn't need your worry, He needs your worship. Because when you worship instead of worry, when you surrender instead of strive, when you trust instead of fear, God releases. He releases favor. He releases direction. He releases divine connections. Not because you earned it, but because you aligned with Him. So today, make a decision. Choose peace over panic. Choose stillness over striving. Choose rest over resistance. Not because life is easy, but because God is able. Not because you see the finish line, but because God has already written the victory. And if God is in control, then nothing is out of control. If God has spoken peace, then no storm can overturn it. Let your soul be still. Let your spirit rise. Let your faith speak louder than your fear. Because when God says relax, He's not asking for silence. He's inviting you to faith. Not empty words, not forced smiles, but the deep, burning assurance that everything He said is already in motion, even if you can't see it, even if you can't feel it, even if the world says otherwise. God is still faithful. When God says relax, He is not asking you to ignore your circumstances. He is commanding you to shift your focus from what's around you to who is above you. Too often we allow the chaos of the world to become louder than the calm of God's voice. We become addicted to noise, to movement, to solving everything in our own power. But God, in His supreme wisdom, is teaching you something higher, something eternal. He is training your spirit not to react to trouble, but to rise above it. He is teaching you that divine peace is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of trust in the midst of them. You may think things are falling apart, but in truth, God is letting some things collapse so that what He builds next will be unshakable. You prayed for a breakthrough, but did you expect it to come through ease? Or did you trust that God would use the fire to refine, the pressure to shape, and the silence to strengthen? God's methods are not always comfortable, but they are always perfect. He is not rushed by your impatience, nor is He moved by your worry. God is working even in the delay. And the stillness He asks of you is not punishment. It is preparation. The world will say, take control. God says, give me control. The world will say, push harder. God says, stand still and see what I will do. The world rewards anxiety with applause and busyness with approval. But God rewards obedience with peace. That's why your rest in Him is a weapon. It confuses every voice that says your life should be falling apart. When you walk in divine calm, when your spirit refuses to bow to fear, you are proclaiming to the world, my trust is not in outcomes, it is in God. Do not let the burdens of this life outweigh the living Word of God within you. Do not let a momentary delay grow into lasting discouragement. Even when you cannot trace His hand, you can still trust His purpose. God will never desert His own. He never tires. He never loses sight of a single promise. And if He has whispered peace into your spirit, cling to it like an anchor. For circumstances may change, but His word will never come back empty. You are not invisible in the multitude. You are not just another face in the crowd. God looks at you personally, fully, and with intention. Your name is not lost among the billions. Your voice is not drowned out by countless prayers. He knows every breath you take. And when He tells you rest, He is saying, I have already accounted for every fear. I have already settled what lies ahead. I have already supplied what you cannot yet see. Trusting God is not a weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is choosing to rest while others run. It is choosing to listen while others panic. It is choosing to believe that when nothing is working in your favor, God is still working all things for your good. And sometimes it takes more faith to sit quietly than to run frantically. Sometimes the real strength is not in speaking, but in staying silent until God gives the command to move. Look back on your life. How many times did you think it was over, only to watch God come through at the last moment? How many nights did you cry, only to wake up and see that the sun still rose, that provision still came, that your strength was renewed? You are not here by accident. You are here because God carried you. Because in every moment when you thought you couldn't take one more step, He was the one sustaining you. Now He is asking you to trust Him again, but deeper this time. Not just for small things, but for the impossible. Not just for survival, but for abundance. Not just for daily needs, but for the desires of your heart. But to receive what God has for you, your soul must learn to wait without fear, to hope without doubt, to stand without shaking. You must come to the place where peace becomes your default, where your calm becomes your confidence, and where your stillness becomes your strength. The beauty of divine timing is that it always reveals what human effort could never accomplish. When God moves, He moves in such a way that no one else can take credit. He restores with such completeness that people will wonder how it happened. But you will know it was God. It was His hand. It was His plan. And it came when you chose to believe instead of break, to worship instead of worry, to relax instead of worry. Some of you are praying for direction, for clarity, for a sign. But hear this: God often answers in whispers, not shouts. He leads in quietness, not chaos. If your heart is loud with fear, you may miss the still, small voice that's guiding you. That's why God is telling you to calm down. Not just outwardly, but inwardly. Your peace must not be based on your surroundings, but on your surrender. If you can trust Him in the storm, you'll hear Him in the silence. And if you can hear Him in the silence, you'll walk with purpose even when the path is invisible. Your future is not hanging by a thread, it is held by God. Your next chapter is not uncertain, it is already written. And your current waiting is not wasted. It is producing something in you that nothing else could. Every second you spend trusting God is a seed planted in eternity. And when the harvest comes, it will not be according to your striving. It will be according to His promise. So quiet your soul. Breathe deeply. Stop rehearsing the worst-case scenario. God is not panicking in heaven. He is not confused. He is not figuring it out as He goes. He saw this moment before you were born. He knew what you'd face, and He prepared for it. He knew who would betray you, and He already made a way to restore you. He knew the doors that would close, and He already built the ones that will open. Nothing surprises God. Nothing delays His plan, and nothing can stop what He has ordained. The more you relax in God, the more your enemies lose their grip. The more you rest in His promises, the more the voices of doubt fade away. The more you place your full weight on His faithfulness, the less your past can haunt you. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are in the hands of the One who controls all things. And when you trust that truth, your spirit becomes unshakable. You begin to move with grace, speak with power, and live with boldness. Because when God says, relax, He is not dismissing your pain. He is elevating your perspective. He's calling you to rise above fear, to detach from desperation, and to look again. Not at what is missing, but at who is present. God is here. And if God is here, then provision is here, peace is here, wisdom is here, power is here. Everything you need is in Him. Everything you desire will come from. So let go. Let the weight fall off your shoulders. Let the burden be released from your mind, and say within yourself, I will trust, I will rest, I will believe. You may not know when, you may not know how, but you know who. And if you know who holds your future, then you already have the answer to every question. Let that truth become your anchor, your shield, your strength. God said, relax. And when God speaks, He speaks only what is true, only what is holy, and only what will stand forever. So let His word be enough. Let His voice drown out every other. Let His peace become your dwelling place. Because everything that is meant for you, everything your heart has prayed for, everything your soul has waited for, everything that aligns with God's will find you, not because you chased it, but because you trusted. Not because you forced it, but because you flowed with God's timing. That is the power of resting in God. That is the reward of trusting without wavering. And when it all comes, when the peace flood your life, when the answers arrive, when the provision overflows, when the blessing breaks through, don't forget this moment. Don't forget the silence, the stillness, the sacred calm, because that is where your breakthrough was born. That is where heaven responded. That is where God moved in your stillness, in your surrender, in your trust. When God tells you to relax, He is not merely offering comfort. He is issuing a divine command that separates those who walk by sight from those who walk by faith. It is a call to spiritual maturity. It is a challenge to trust not in your emotions, not in the noise of the world, not in the opinions of men, but in the unchanging, all-powerful nature of God. And when you understand who is speaking, then His words will become your shield, your compass, and your peace. His voice is not like the voice of man. Man speaks from limitation. God speaks from eternity. Man reacts. God ordains. And when He speaks a word over your life, it echoes through time with unstoppable force. To relax in God does not mean you have given up. It means you finally stepped into divine agreement. It means your soul no longer wages war against the timing of heaven. It means you are no longer trying to fix spiritual matters with physical tools. It means you no longer allow fear to shape your steps, because the more you know God, the less room there is for anxiety. The more deeply you trust God, the less control you need. You begin to understand that your steps are not random. They are ordered. And when your life is in the hands of God, even detours are part of the design. There are times when the silence of God is louder than 1,000 answers. It is in the silence that your faith is forged. It is in the stillness that your spirit is strengthened. When there is nothing left to do, and all you have is trust, this is where the foundation of true faith is laid. Because faith is not proven by results. It is proven by obedience. And your obedience in stillness shouts louder in heaven than all your striving on earth. The world will call your peace foolish. It will not understand why you can sleep while the storm rages. It will question your calm, doubt your patience, and mock your stillness. But what the world cannot see is the unbreakable covenant between your heart and God. What the world cannot touch is the strength that flows from surrender. While others seek validation and applause and progress, you rest in the quiet power of alignment. While others are busy building towers on sand, you are standing on the rock of God's promises. And when you are aligned with God, you're not anxious about who left, what failed, or what hasn't arrived. You know that what departs was never meant to stay. What failed was never part of your future. And what hasn't arrived is still being prepared. Because God does not withhold to punish. He withholds to protect. He doesn't delay to test your patience. He delays to develop your purpose. And the moment you start seeing the delay is a blessing, the wait becomes easier and the peace becomes permanent. So many chase what is never meant to be theirs. So many grasp, hustle, and beg for things that would poison them if they came too soon. But those who wait on God, those who trust and relax in His wisdom, receive not just a gift, but a crown. They receive what is tailor-made for their calling, what has been sealed with divine fingerprints, what will not come with sorrow or loss, but with clarity, honor, and grace. It is time to stop negotiating with doubt. It is time to stop holding hands with worry. Doubt is a thief. Worry is a liar. And both will rob you of the peace God already gave you. You do not need a new promise. You need to believe the one you've already received. The words of God are not theories. They are not suggestions. They are not fragile opinions. They are eternal truths spoken by the Creator of heaven and earth, who is not moved by time, trends, or threats. When God tells you to relax, He is realigning your spirit with the frequency of faith. He is lifting you above the fog of fear and placing you in the clarity of trust. Because fear demands answers, but faith demands obedience. Fear asks, what if it never happens? Faith declares it will happen when God decides. Fear focuses on the lack. Faith rests in the source. And the moment you choose faith over fear, the atmosphere shifts, the burden lifts, and your heart begins to rise in quiet strength. Some of you have been carrying loads that were never yours to bear. You've been fighting battles that God never called you to fight. You've been pleading for things that God already decided to give you, but in His time. And now your soul is weary. But God is not calling you to fight harder. He is calling you to release. Let go. Let go of the panic. Let go of the control. Let go of the need to understand every step. You do not need to know the path if you trust the guide. Let the presence of God become your dwelling place, not just your place of refuge in trouble, but your home in all seasons. Make peace your new atmosphere. Make trust your permanent posture. Make stillness your weapon. Because the soul that rests in God becomes unshakable, immovable, unbothered by the shifting tides of this world. This is not arrogance. This is not ignorance. This is the quiet strength that comes from knowing you belong to the one who commands the wind and calms the waves. And when it feels like nothing is happening, that's often when everything is happening. In silence, God is working. In the background, He is arranging what no man can. In the stillness, He is refining your character, increasing your capacity, strengthening your resolve. Because what is coming requires more than just desire. It requires endurance. And God will never send you into battle with an untrained spirit. That's why the stillness matters. That's why the waiting is holy. That's why the peace is sacred. You are not waiting for something small. You are not waiting for crumbs. You are waiting for the fullness of what God has ordained, and anything of that magnitude cannot be rushed. The deeper the foundation, the higher the structure. So if it feels like God is digging deep into your soul, if it feels like He is stretching you beyond your limits, it's because the blessing that is coming requires roots that will not be shaken. Let your heart be anchored in that truth. Let your mind be renewed by it. Let your spirit rise with fresh strength, because God is not asking you to pretend everything is fine. He is asking you to believe that in Him everything will be made right. You don't need to suppress your pain. You don't need to hide your fears. You simply need to place them in the hands of God and then rest in the assurance that He is more than enough. God said, relax. And when God speaks, His Word becomes your authority. His Word becomes your peace. His Word becomes your victory. You don't need to wait for confirmation when the command has already been given. Stop looking for signs when God already gave you the signal. Rest, trust, wait. You are not being denied. You are being shaped for what's ahead. This is not a season of punishment. This is a season of strategic positioning. And when your moment arrives, the gift God sends won't merely bless you. It will spill over, lift you higher, and change everything in your orbit. Come on, let's move. Yes, let's go together. The clearest proof of trust is the ability to rest. The truest sign of faith is a calm heart, not the temporary calm the world offers, but the deep peace that comes from being held completely, forever, and without condition by God's hands. Let that reality sink into every part of you. Let it reshape your thoughts. Let it steady your pulse. Let it bring your life back into its right rhythm. What belongs to you will find you. What is appointed for you will not be postponed forever. God's promises toward you are on their way, not because of force, fear, or frantic striving, but by His power, His hand, and His perfect timing. So breathe. God has spoken, that is sufficient. Why is it that the chosen often walk a lonely road? Why do those marked with God's anointing so frequently find themselves in silence instead of celebration, facing betrayal instead of loyalty, and enduring misunderstanding instead of support? Beloved, if you are hearing this and feel the heavy cloak of isolation upon your spirit, know this: it is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not rejection, it is redirection. God draws back the crowd so He can draw you closer to Himself. He calls His chosen vessels out of the noise so they might hear His whisper more clearly. You are not forsaken. You are being hidden. Hidden not because you lack worth, but because you are worth protecting by heaven's own hand. When God places His anointing on a life, He often surrounds it with stillness, not to cause your suffering, but to cultivate your growth. He wants you to learn to lean on Him and Him alone. And when you lean on God, you will find a strength that no friend could ever provide. You will find a peace that no company could replicate. You will find an identity not built on the validation of others, but on the unshakable truth that God knows you, God sees you, and God has called you. Chosen ones do not walk the easy road. They walk the narrow path, carved not by popularity, but by purpose. Many will not understand your discipline. Many will not understand your silence. Many will not comprehend why you walk away when others run toward the spotlight. It is because you know something they do not. You know that God does not anoint the crowd, He anoints the called. And the called must be separated before they are elevated. Before God uses a person publicly, He shapes them privately. So do not weep over the friendships that walked away. Do not mourn the people who couldn't stay. If they left, it was because they were never part of your assignment. If they turned against you, it was because their hearts could not handle the light God placed within you. If you were chosen, you must understand that not everyone will recognize your value because your value is not visible. It is spiritual. The world sees with eyes of flesh, but God sees the heart. And those who are chosen are not validated by crowds. They are validated by God's silence and God's voice. When God separates you, it is because He is about to reveal something sacred within you. That loneliness you feel, it is not emptiness. It is space being made for divine downloads. That quietness around you, it is not absence. It is the presence of God drawing near. For when everyone leaves, God draws closer. When the world turns its back, God opens His arms. And what God builds in the wilderness, no man can destroy in the open. Solitude is the soil of strength. Separation is the school of the Spirit. When you have no one to lean on, you learn to lean fully on God. And let me tell you, those who walk alone with God are never truly alone. They are being accompanied by the one who made the stars. They are being mentored by the one who created wisdom. They are being loved by the one whose love does not fade, falter, or fail. Friends may leave, people may betray, but God remains. And when you have God, you lack nothing. The chosen ones have 0 friends, not because they are unworthy, but because they are too costly. Not because they are broken, but because they are set apart. God does not allow everyone to access what He calls sacred. There is a sacredness to your soul that God is protecting. He is shielding you from connections that would corrupt your calling. He is guarding you from relationships that would distract from your purpose. He is keeping you alone, not to punish you, but to preserve the purity of your walk with Him. Some people were never meant to walk with you into the next season. Some friends were only assigned to a chapter, not the whole story. And when their time is up, you must let them go. Because the longer you hold on to what God is removing, the longer you delay what God is preparing. You see, the chosen must be tested. The chosen must be forged in fire. And fire does not burn in crowds, it burns in solitude. The greatest revelations come not in rooms filled with noise, but in caves filled with stillness. And God speaks clearest in the wilderness. He molds the chosen in the secret place. He shapes them when no one is watching. And when the time is right, He will reveal them. Not to make them famous, but to make Himself known through them. If you are chosen, prepare to be hidden. Prepare to be misunderstood. Prepare to walk alone, but do not be discouraged. For every tear you cry in secret, God bottles it up. For every night you spend in silence, God is near. For every betrayal you face, God is writing justice. God knows what they did. God knows who walked away. God knows how they laugh behind your back. But He also knows the greatness that lies ahead. And when the time is right, He will lift you, not by the hand of man, but by His own hand. And when God lifts, no man can bring down. Those ones walk alone because their ears are tuned to a different frequency. They don't crave gossip. They crave God's voice. They don't desire applause. They desire alignment. They don't chase attention. They chase assignment. And because of that, they often find themselves walking paths no one else dares to walk. They take stands others are too afraid to take. They carry burdens others are too weak to bear. But they do it with grace. They do it with humility, because they know their strength comes from God, not from the approval of people. So if you find yourself in a season of isolation, don't fight it. Embrace it. It is God's way of preparing you for the elevation that is to come. The deeper the isolation, the higher the calling. The greater the pain, the heavier the anointing. And the more intense the warfare, the more powerful the purpose. You were not born to fit in. You were born to stand out. You were not called to be accepted. You were chosen to be set apart. And because you are set apart, not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone will stay. But that is not your concern. Your concern is obedience. Your concern is purity. Your concern is walking in the purpose God assigned to you before the foundations of the world. Let God be your friend. Let God be your comfort. Let God be your confidence. When everyone else is silent, let God speak. When the world turns against you, let God fight for you. When you feel unseen, let God remind you He sees you. He sees your heart. He sees your obedience. He sees your sacrifice. He sees how you still chose to love when others hated. He sees how you gave when others only took. He sees how you remained faithful when others walked away. And for every time you chose God over comfort, God over popularity, God over relationships, He is preparing a reward. Not just in the life to come, but even in this one. You will reap in joy what you sowed in tears. You will dance where you once crawled. You will be surrounded by favor where you once sat in loneliness. But don't rush it. Don't force friendships that God never approved. Don't entertain company that only drains your spirit. Don't allow loneliness to push you into compromise. Your worth is not measured by how many people surround you, but by how closely you walk with God. And those who walk closely with God often walk alone. But oh, what peace they carry, what wisdom they possess, what power flows through their quiet obedience. The chosen ones are God's secret weapons. They may look ordinary, but they carry extraordinary purpose. They may seem overlooked, but they are overseen by the Almighty. And when God says, "Now," everything that was hidden will be revealed. The ones who were ignored will be honored. The ones who were mocked will be magnified. Not because they fought for themselves, but because they trusted God to fight for them. And hear this truth deeply, for it will set your heart at ease. When God places a heavy anointing upon a person, He often removes every distraction around them so that their spirit can be fine-tuned to His divine instructions. You are not losing people, you are gaining clarity. You are not left behind. You are being carried by God's unseen hand. Isolation is not your enemy. It is the sacred womb in which destiny is born. And in this womb of separation, God nurtures courage, grows discernment, and strengthens the soul. When no one stands with you, it is because God is standing before you, behind you, beside you, and within you. Chosen ones do not belong to the noise of the world. They belong to the voice of God. And God's voice does not shout in crowds, it speaks in silence. That's why He pulls His chosen away from every voice that competes with His truth. He silences the familiar so you may grow familiar with the sacred. This separation is not rejection, it is refinement. And refinement is not gentle, it is fire. God's fire doesn't come to destroy, it comes to purify. The loneliness you feel, it's not loneliness. It's the fire of holiness, the sting of solitude. It's not emptiness, it's the burning of everything that cannot walk with you into your calling. People often say they want to be used by God, but few are willing to pay the price of being chosen. It costs everything. It costs comfort, it costs popularity, it costs relationships, and that cost is loneliness. But let me tell you, the price is worth it because what God gives in return is eternal. He gives vision that sees beyond the veil. He gives wisdom that cuts through lies. He gives authority that can shake the very gates of darkness. And all of this comes not in a crowd, but in the quiet. In the place where it's just you and God and no one else. This is why you feel out of place when you're surrounded by many. This is why small talk drains your spirit. This is why you sense deception in hearts that smile at you. Because your spirit is tuned to a higher frequency. You are not built for surface level connection. You are built for divine alignment. You cannot engage in gossip when your ears have been trained to hear God. You cannot blend in when you've been marked for something greater. You cannot pretend to be average when God has placed extraordinary weight on your shoulders. Chosen ones are not allowed to get comfortable in the crowd because they were never created to follow. They were created to lead. And leadership, true leadership under God's hand, is a lonely path. It means seeing what others cannot, hearing what others ignore, feeling burdens others shrug off, carrying vision that others mock. But do not let their laughter disturb your peace. Do not let their absence discourage your obedience. They laugh because they do not see what God has revealed to you. They leave because they do not hear what God has spoken to you. And God allows it because what He has planted in your soul must be protected from small minds, shallow hearts, and distracted spirits. Even your enemies are part of God's design. For God will often raise opposition to expose your strength. He will allow betrayal to test your loyalty, not to people, but to Him. He allows misunderstanding not to shame you, but to show you that your validation comes from Him alone. When people walk away, God is showing you who never belong. When doors shut, God is showing you the doors He will open. When voices go silent, God is preparing you to hear the only voice that matters. There is power in having no one but God. There is clarity in being stripped of noise. There is transformation in being broken in silence. And when God breaks you, it's not to ruin you, it's to rebuild you, stronger, wiser, sharper, purer. And when that rebuilding is done, no enemy can dismantle you. When God builds you in the dark, He makes you unshakable in the light. You become the kind of soul that can walk through fire and not be burned, that can face storms and not be shaken, that can be betrayed and still forgive, because your anchor is not in people, it is in God. Chosen ones have zero friends, not because they are unfriendly, but because they are too spiritually deep to dwell in shallow circles. Their loyalty is to truth, not to comfort. Their desire is for purpose, not popularity. Their energy is reserved for assignments, not attachments. And this confuses the world. People want your presence, but not your purity. They want your light, but not your standard. They want your strength, but not your silence. And when you choose solitude over conformity, they call you difficult. But that is the price of divine distinction. And let us not forget, God does not rush the preparation of His chosen. You may be hidden for years. You may be misunderstood for seasons. But it is all part of the blueprint, because what is being developed in you cannot be rushed. God is not building a moment, He is building a legacy of obedience, a legacy of resilience, a legacy of resiliency and distractions. So if you feel like you are walking this road alone, know this: you are not lost, you are led. You are not abandoned, you are being advanced. You are not without, you are being filled. And what you are being filled with cannot be given by men. It can only come from God. The weight of your assignment is heavy because the purpose behind it is eternal. And only those who have learned to walk with God in secret can carry such weight in public. Every time you choose to remain silent when others slander you, you are being refined. Every time you walk away from a toxic connection, you are being strengthened. Every time you spend time in solitude seeking God's guidance rather than chasing man's approval, you are being elevated. And one day they will look back and wonder how you made it, how you endured, how you carried so much. And the answer will be simple: God. It was God who sustained you, God who covered you, God who kept your name clean while others tried to stain it, God who provided when no one offered, God who whispered hope when the world shouted defeat, God who fought battles you never even saw, God who opened doors no man could shut. And it was in the silence, in the stillness, in the solitude that God became everything. So stop looking for validation in people who are blind to your purpose. Stop yearning for company that does not carry the depth of your calling. Stop compromising your peace to keep others comfortable. You were not called to fit in, you were set apart to shine. And the only way to shine in the dark is to embrace the fire that God places within you. Walk forward with your head high. Walk forward even if no one walks beside you, because the road of the chosen is not crowded, but it is covered by the hand of God. And that covering is better than any company. That protection is greater than any partnership. That presence is more powerful than any friendship. Let them wonder why you walk alone. Let them question your silence. Let them doubt your path. You don't owe them answers. You owe God your obedience. Obedience in solitude is far greater than compromise dressed in applause. You may lack companions, but you carry a mission. You may stand without a circle, but you stand with truth. And truth, when guarded by the hand of God, outweighs 1,000 shallow connections. This is the path of the chosen, to endure testing in hidden places so they can be trusted on higher ground, to be emptied of distractions so they can be filled with calling, to lose false securities so they can be clothed in heavenly strength. God is not withholding from you, He is shaping you. And when His work is complete, what you carry will speak for itself. There comes a moment in the life of the chosen when the question shifts from why me to the realization it had to be me. For the burdens they bear, the battles they fight, and the solitude they endure, none of it is random. It is by design. It is heaven's orchestration. When God sets you apart, He separates you from the patterns of the crowd. He pulls you out of shallow waters and calls you into the deep. And in the deep, there is no noise, no distraction, no comfort, only God. And only those who have walked in that deep place know what it feels like to be completely emptied of human dependence and filled with the power of God alone. Some of you wonder why your phone no longer rings, why you sit alone when others gather, why you can feel surrounded yet unseen. It is because your spirit has outgrown the level of your former circles. When God elevates your calling, He also elevates your separation. You cannot walk in high places while clinging to low attachments. You cannot carry divine purpose while entertaining carnal company. God removes what cannot go with you, and though it may hurt, it is mercy. The silence you feel around you is not rejection, it is sacred ground. And the chosen ones must learn to stand on that holy ground with reverence, with humility, and with unshakable focus. There is a depth to the chosen that the world cannot comprehend. They see your calm, but they don't see the storm you survive. They see your strength, but they don't know the nights you cried to God, with no one to comfort you but His invisible presence. They see the fruit, but they have no idea the pruning process it took. And still, through every breaking, God was building something. Through every betrayal, God was proving something. As you, through every moment of silence, God was speaking something into your soul that no human could ever teach. Chosen ones are built in the unseen. They are strengthened in silence. And their reward is not the applause of people, but the approval of God. While others chase platform, they chase purity. While others seek attention, they seek alignment. And because of that, God trusts them with the assignments that no one else can carry. He hides them for a time, not to punish them, but to protect them from premature exposure. For anything exposed too soon becomes vulnerable to destruction. But what God hides, He sustains, and what He sustains, He will release in due season with unstoppable force. You may not have many to talk to, but you have much to say. Because when God is your teacher, wisdom flows like rivers. You may not have crowds cheering you on, but you have the heavens watching in silence as your obedience resounds louder than any voice. God does not need noise to confirm His hand on your life. His confirmation is internal. It's the peace that surpasses understanding. It's the strength that comes from nowhere. It's the clarity in confusion. It's the fire that burns in your bones when you know you're walking in purpose, even when you're walking alone. And oh, the chosen are not lonely because they lack love. They are lonely because they carry love that the world cannot yet recognize. They are not isolated because they are unloved. They are isolated because their love for God has become their ultimate priority. And anyone or anything that would hinder that love, that focus, that divine intimacy must be removed. This is not cruelty, this is covenant. God protects those who are in covenant with Him by cutting off anything that competes for their loyalty. Understand this clearly. When you walk with God, you will be misunderstood, because your spirit moves by a code the world does not know. You walk away from drama not because you're weak, but because peace is your companion. You ignore insults not because you're afraid, but because your assignment is too important to be delayed by distractions. You sit alone in rooms filled with chaos because your soul craves what only God can provide. And in those moments when no one understands you, when no one includes you, when no one stands beside you, God surrounds you. You may look like one, but you stand with the strength of many because God is your backing. Chosen ones are often misunderstood even by their own families. They are often the black sheep, the odd one, the one whose spirit feels heavy from a young age. They see the world differently. They sense deception quickly. They feel energies that others ignore because from the beginning, God marked them. And that mark is spiritual. That mark is unseen yet undeniable. That mark will draw attacks, but it will also draw favor. That mark will isolate you from what is familiar, but it will align you with what is eternal. You are not late. You are not behind. You are being developed. And the deeper the development, the longer the process. Do not compare your journey to those around you, for their assignment is not yours. Their crowd is not your confirmation. Let God set your pace. Let God be your calendar. Let God be your timeline. When it is your time, no one will be able to stop what God has ordained. And when it is not your time, no one will be able to force what God has concealed. So yes, chosen ones often have zero friends. not because they are not worthy of love, but because their love is reserved. Reserved for sacred purposes, reserved for divine missions, reserved for purity, not popularity. They are warriors in the Spirit. They are watchmen in silence. They are vessels carrying fire in a world soaked in coldness. And fire does not settle where it is not welcomed. Fire does not blend in, it consumes. That is why many cannot stay around you, because your very presence convicts what they are unwilling to surrender. But do not dim your light to make others comfortable. Do not shrink to be more acceptable. God did not choose you to blend in. He chose you to be set apart, to carry truth, to walk in clarity, to confront darkness without fear, and to do it even when you're doing it alone. God walks with the one who dares to walk alone with Him. And He gives that person strength that no crowd can offer. You don't need 10 people to agree with your path. You need one voice, God's. And when He says go, you go. When He says wait, you wait. When He says speak, you speak. And even if no one listens, even if no one supports, even if no one stands, God stands with you. And He will show in due time that your isolation was not in vain, that your silence was not wasted, that your sacrifice was not forgotten. The ones who walk alone with God are the ones who shake the world in quiet ways. They don't need microphones. They carry authority in their whisper. They don't need crowds. They walk with conviction. And when they rise with power, not from people, but from the one who formed them in silence. And when the night grows darkest, when your heart aches from being misunderstood, overlooked, and forgotten by the very people you once trusted, remember this: it is in that sacred stillness that God whispers the loudest. He does not always speak when the room is filled. Sometimes God waits for the room to empty, for the clamor to quiet, for every familiar face to fade, just so your soul can finally tune in to Him alone. When you have nothing left but God, you will realize that God is more than enough. The chosen are trained in moments when no one is watching, no one is applauding, and no one is cheering, but God is present, measuring their faithfulness in the shadows. And oh, how different the chosen are. They cannot follow the crowd because they are guided by conviction. They cannot settle in compromise because they are stirred by divine standards. While others chase ease, the chosen are drawn to truth, even if that truth isolates them, even if it costs them everything. Their loyalty is not swayed by comfort. It is anchored in a deeper covenant with God. And because they choose that higher road, they must walk it alone. But that loneliness is not emptiness, it is preparation. For God is forging warriors, not wanderers. He is crafting vessels of power, not puppets of popularity. People will question your quiet. They will misinterpret your solitude. They will say you're distant, cold, arrogant, when in truth, you're simply set apart. You have outgrown small talk and surface connections. Because your spirit is in tune with eternal things, your eyes no longer crave what shines for a moment. They are fixed on what lasts forever. And that focus makes others uncomfortable, but it also makes you unstoppable. But it also makes you unstoppable. Because when God has your full attention, no distraction can derail you. No gossip can stain you. No betrayal can break you. You become immovable, not by your strength, but by the foundation God has built beneath your feet. Chosen ones carry burdens the world cannot see. They feel deeply. They sense danger before it strikes. They weep in silence while carrying smiles in public, because their calling demands more than the world understands. And God allows it. He allows the pressing. He allows the pain, because what He is producing in you is rare. It is precious. It cannot be rushed, cheapened, or polluted. That is why He isolates you, not to deprive you, but to purify you. He strips away distractions so that the anointing He pours into you is not diluted by worldly noise. And in that purification, you learn who you truly are. You learn that your worth was never found in who accepted you. It was always rooted in who created you. God does not consult opinions before He calls. He does not need confirmation from others before He sets someone apart. When God chooses, He chooses with full knowledge of your weaknesses, your failures, your past, your pain. And still He says, you, not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to be molded, broken, reshaped, and refined. Willing to walk alone if it means walking with God. Willing to be rejected if it means remaining faithful. The chosen understand that every delay has purpose, that every closed door is God's protection, that every betrayal is a stepping stone. They do not crumble under rejection because they know rejection is redirection. They do not panic in silence because they have learned to hear God in the quiet. They are not afraid of solitude because they have tasted the sweetness of God's presence. And once you have encountered the reality of walking with God, no earthly relationship can replace that peace. Do not envy the ones who seem to have many friends, many admirers, and constant attention. For what looks like gain in the eyes of the world can often be a burden in the eyes of the Spirit. The chosen ones do not measure their lives by what they accumulate, but by how deeply they walk in obedience. And obedience, true obedience, often leads away from crowds and toward consecration. It leads away from applause and into anonymity. Because before God uses you to speak loudly, He teaches you to listen deeply. God knows that those who have walked through the fire of isolation will not be swayed by flattery. They will not be intoxicated by fame. They will not compromise under pressure. Why? Because they have been with God when no one else was there. They have been strengthened in valleys so they can stand on mountains without arrogance. They have been emptied so God could fill them with what cannot be bought or stolen. They have learned to walk without crutches, and now they walk in spiritual authority because their authority comes from God, not from man. Chosen ones are not bitter about their solitude. They are sharpened by it. They don't cry over closed doors. They praise God for them. They don't beg to belong. They understand that the more they grow, the less they fit into what used to feel comfortable, and that okay, because they are not here to be accepted. They are here to fulfill an assignment, and every tear, every betrayal, every long night was shaping them for that divine mission. So if you are walking through a season where no one seems to understand you, where friends have disappeared, where family misread you, where you feel like a stranger in rooms you once called home, know this: God is with you. He is not punishing you, He is positioning you. The solitude is sacred, the silence is holy. And what God is doing in you is preparing you for something far greater than what you left behind. There is a strength that only comes from walking with God alone, a clarity that only comes when you block out every other voice, a confidence that only arises when you've seen God make a way when no one else even cared to notice. And that strength will carry you. That clarity will guide you. That confidence will keep you when storms arise. For the one who walks with God may be alone in the eyes of the world, but they are never alone in reality. So do not curse the loneliness. Embrace it. Let it do its work. Let it strip you of every false dependency. Let it expose every idol. Let it cleanse your heart of every attachment that is not rooted in God. Because when the process is complete, you will emerge with something eternal. You will emerge with the kind of fire that can't be put out, with the kind of peace that passes all understanding, with the kind of focus that cannot be broken. The world may never understand the chosen, but God never intended them to be understood. He intended them to be effective, and effectiveness comes at the price of separation. It comes at the price of purity. It comes at the price of enduring the silence until the only voice you respond to is God's. And when that moment comes, when God says, "Now," no force in heaven or earth can stop what is about to be released through you. You see, when God marks someone, He does not consult the opinions of people. He does not seek permission from the world to elevate you. He does not wait for approval from family, friends, or mentors. When God chooses a soul for a divine purpose, that soul becomes untouchable by man's opinions and unreachable by man's standards. God's hand becomes the seal. And where His seal rests, no force of darkness can prevail. That is why the chosen walk alone. Not because they are rejected by man, but because when you walk with God, you walk at a different pace. Others may run ahead, chasing titles and trophies, while you stand still, waiting on God's command. Others may build quickly, gathering applause and validation, while you are hidden in the background, learning to build on unshakable foundations. It is not because you lack skill, it is because you are led by stillness. It is not because you are slow, it is because your steps are ordered by a higher rhythm. And those who are ordered by God cannot be rushed by pressure. They do not compromise speed for obedience. They know that timing in the spiritual realm. The chosen often experience warfare that others cannot comprehend. This is why some days feel heavier than others. This is why certain battles seem invisible to those around you, but unbearable to you. You are not imagining it. You are not overreacting. What weighs on you is real because your calling is real. God does not pour oil on empty vessels. He anoints those He has prepared, and He prepares through pressure. And pressure comes with pain, but also with purpose. When God increases your pressure, it is because He is increasing your capacity. Chosen ones often wrestle in secret. They cry in silence, pray with groanings, and rise with strength that no one can trace. They don't always have someone to lean on, so they learn to lean into God. They don't always have a hand to hold, so they learn to hold on to the truth. They don't always have encouragement, so they speak life into their own souls with words born out of fire. And this is what makes them dangerous. Not because they are loud, but because they are anchored. Not because they have a platform, but because they have a relationship with God that is unshakable and untouched by man. You may feel unseen, but you are never unnoticed by God. You may feel unheard, but your cries echo in the courts of heaven. You may feel forgotten, but God never loses sight of those He calls His own. His eyes are always on you. His presence is always near. He walks with you through every lonely valley, through every dry wilderness, through every mountain of resistance. That is why your circle is small. That is why you don't fit in. That is why your spirit cannot tolerate fake conversations and shallow intentions. You are not made for the superficial. You are built for the sacred, and the sacred is costly. The sacred requires surrender. The sacred demands separation. And that separation is not about pride, it is about preservation. God removes what would corrupt you. He subtracts what would slow you. He isolates you not to harm, but to prepare. Every step of solitude is ordered. Every loss is calculated. Every delay is designed. You must understand that not all company is good company. Some people are sent to distract. Some are sent to destroy. And when God calls you higher, He must first clear the path. Do not mourn over who left. Do not beg for doors to reopen. What walked away was not meant to stay. What ended was never meant to go with you. If you forced it, it would break you. If you kept it, it would poison the promise. God is not cruel. He is precise. And what He removes, He replaces in due time with better, stronger, and more aligned to your destiny. Chosen ones are not easily impressed by the world because they have tasted something greater. They have seen what worldly riches cannot provide. They have been in the presence of divine wisdom. They have walked with God through shadows and storms and found in Him more security than fame could ever offer. That's why they don't chase trends. That's why they don't bow to pressure. Their hearts are anchored in a deeper place, a place where faith is not just spoken, but lived, tested, and proven through fire. So when others mock your quietness, when they question your distance, when they misread your silence, smile, for they cannot comprehend what God is building in the secret places of your soul. Let them speak, let them wonder, let them leave. For none of their opinions can derail what God has ordained. You do not need to defend your calling to those who cannot discern it. You do not need to explain your process to those who are never called to walk it. Keep walking, keep trusting, even when it feels like the path is endless, even when the weight feels unbearable, even when the silence feels suffocating. For every step you take in faith is breaking barriers in the unseen realm. Every act of obedience is shaking strongholds. Every tear you cry is watering seeds that will bloom in season. And when that season comes, you will look back and know it was God all along. God who carried you, God who covered you, God who whispered, "Keep going," when your strength failed. And in that moment, when the world sees the fruit of your faith, they will not understand how you made it. But you will know. It was not luck. It was not talent. It was not connections. It was the hand of God. It was the favor of God. It was the silence of God that strengthened you more than 1,000 voices ever could. And that silence was never absence. It was presence in its purest form. And so, chosen one, walk boldly into your assignment. Embrace your solitude. Wear your isolation as your armor. Let your quiet season become your training ground, because soon what God has been forming in the dark will be revealed in the light. And when He lifts you, no man will be able to say, "They made you." Only God could write this story. Only God could mold a soul like yours. Only God could raise someone from obscurity to impact. And that, my friend, is what makes you chosen. So now I ask you, what will you do with your solitude? What will you do with the silence that surrounds you? Will you waste it, yearning for the noise of the crowd? Or will you bow your heart before God and let Him speak? Will you chase after those who walked away? Or will you walk deeper into the arms of the one who never left? Will you mourn what you lost? Or will you rise with boldness, knowing that what God removes, He always replaces with purpose, with power, with peace? This is your moment. This is your sacred invitation, not to be more popular, not to be more accepted, but to be more aligned with God's plan for your life. If you feel alone, it is not a sign that you are forsaken. It is a sign that you are being prepared for something weighty, something holy, something eternal. And now is the time to let go of everything that has tried to cling to your calling, every false friend, every fruitless habit, every fear that has robbed you of your focus. You were not made to blend in. You were made to stand out. You were not created to follow the crowd. You were set apart to follow God. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Let them doubt. Because when you walk with God, you carry a truth that does not need validation. You carry a light that cannot be dimmed. You carry a calling that cannot be canceled by man. And your value is not in how many people surround you, but in how closely you walk with God. The crowd may not clap for you. The world may not notice you. But if God is pleased, you have everything. Now is the time to return to the secret place, to sit in the quiet where your soul can breathe again, to fall to your knees and surrender everything that has weighed you down. Let your heart speak honestly to God. Let your tears water the soil of your next season. Let your silence be filled with His presence, for it is in the stillness that your strength will be renewed. It is in the solitude that your purpose will be made clear. In solitude, your soul begins to mend. Choose today to stop fleeing from the quiet and instead lean in to the whispers of God you've been avoiding. Choose today to lay down your craving for validation and rest in the certainty that His hand is guiding your life. Choose today to stop questioning why companionship feels distant and start thanking God for shielding you from what was never meant to follow you. You are not abandoned. You are not late. You are not beyond restoration. You are chosen. You are appointed. You are under His covering. And though people may see you walking alone, heaven surrounds you. Let that truth be enough for your soul. Let it anchor your steps. Let it raise your head, ignite your spirit, and call you back to your identity. Walk with courage, walk with faith, walk with humility, but most of all, walk with God. For whoever walks with God never walks alone.